un homme du Nord. Surprise.
My name is Inno. Well, that's my stage name. I was born in Kigali and I was raised in Belgium because I was adopted when I was a little child. And so I have two nationalities. I just acquired the Rwandese nationality again, so I'm very proud of that. And that's what I'm doing. I'm a stand-up comedian.
Moi, je suis célibataire, ok? Donc ça veut dire que je vis tout seul. Et sans chat, car je pense, désolé, les miam que le chat est un être égoïste, manipulateur, cruel, qui tue des animaux qu'il ne mange même pas.
Okay, so I'm 40. Even when I say it, it's always like I just received the news. It's always not good. So here I am, and I'm very, very happy to be here because it was the first time I had to do stand-up comedy here in Rwanda, in Kigali, and it went well, so I'm in a great mood. I'm here to do a stand-up comedy show for Wallonie-Bruxelles International, who is like a government organization from Belgium, okay? And they sent me here to do like a show with Hervé Kimeni and Mika Sengazi, who are local humorists, who are French-speaking, you know. And so we did this big show because, you know, il faut aider la francophonie, you know. The generations are not speaking French anymore. So we are here to do some laughter and bring some great cultural events to the people, okay? Because even also people don't know when these people can be funny. You know, it's not an internationally, you know, reputation that we have. We are here to participate, to change that. So we had this show in front of diplomats. We had two shows actually. One in front of diplomats and all the people from Rwanda who are like officials. It was very delicate, you know. It was like, you know, like doing surf, but on very big waves, and you don't have to fall, and there are sharks in the sea. But we managed to stay on the plank, so it was very fun. And then the next day, there was like the show, Wallonie-Bruxelles International managed to make it free for other people to be welcome and to come and to laugh at au Centre Culturel Francophone. And it was like more than 200 people, and it was crazy. And it was especially very, very good for me because it was the first time I was very stressed. It was the first time that I came here to do my show. And you know, I'm talking about myself, you know, in my stand-up, in my comedy. I'm talking about my history, about the fact that I'm born in Rwanda, I was raised in Belgium. I talk about all that, but I talk about that in Europe. You know, I'm used to talk about that to white people, actually. And yesterday, for the first time, I was here in Rwanda, like some few hundred meters ago from the place where I was actually born, and I did my performance, and at the end, the people cheered so hard. They laughed and they cheered and they clapped, and I felt very welcome, and it was moving for me because I felt home, you know, for the first time, even if I'm 40. So, you know, you can be 40 and still feel young sometimes. You can still have first time. So that's what happened to me, and so it was a very great experience for me. I studied communication in Belgium. I studied for communication studies. I did some journalistic I worked a little bit as a journalist for a few times, and then I had a friend who brought me into comedy, saying, "Hey, you have a very interesting story to tell, and it would be great that you perform on stage. And then there is this little school we can go. We'll do like a masterclass." The thing that I actually gave here in Rwanda, because we did the two shows, but we also did like 3 days of masterclass. To people who are interested in comedy, and I did that like 10 years ago almost. And at the end of the masterclass, we were like forced to go for 5 minutes on stage, and I wasn't really comfortable. It was not a good experience in the way I felt it, you know. I was like sweating, and I was like, it was horrible. All my friends were in the crowd, and I was, I don't want to do it. Actually, I was good at writing. I always was good at writing stuff, you know, even when I was little and I had to write a little poem for my parents. It was nice. But going actually on stage, I didn't knew I was capable of doing it, okay? So I did this 5 minutes at the end of the masterclass, and also it was great. It went good. People were like, "Hey, you get to do that. That's your thing." I was like, "Really?" Because, you know, in life, I'm not the same person than on stage. So So it was surprising even for myself. And now, also, when you do comedy, you speak about things that makes you vulnerable, you speak about things that are not really, that maybe you can be ashamed of maybe you are, still processing or something. And so if you bomb with things that that you're sensitive about, it's like you suffered twice, So I was very afraid of that. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to tell this story while I was, like drunk in the streets and everybody's going to be like, But that's not what happened. So I kept it up and it was a hobby for a few years because I didn't knew that it could be actually a métier, like really a profession, something that you can do and actually get paid to tell funny things, So, but it's a real thing. It's a métier, and so yeah, that's how I started, and I have this story about myself, about being born in Rwanda and being like adopted in Belgium. So I have this original story of being born in Rwanda, in Kigali, in 1983, and being adopted by a homoparental couple in 1984. So it's like, very unconventional. And it's unconventional, and so people are always asking me, but is this true? I'm like, who would invent such a story just to be famous? I mean, it's like, no, that's my reality, so I speak about it. Yeah, so that's what happened to me. And when I was 20, I made research to find my biological family again, and that's how I connected back to my Rwandese roots, because I discovered my Rwandese biological family somewhere, actually even in Belgium, and so I had the chance to meet them and to come Rwanda for the first time in 2004. And now it's almost 20 years later, and I'm very happy that I came in 2004, so I can see really the contrast, because in 2004 we were there and people were talking about Vision 2020. I was like, yeah. And then I came back 20 years later, I'm like, oh shit, I was serious. And so yeah, it's great. So now I feel like finally all the parts of the puzzle of my own story are brought back together, and I get now the whole picture. And so it's like on the identity level, I'm like resolved, everything is aligned again. So that's really, that's fulfilling, actually. So comedy can be fulfilling and deep. People always think it's like just laughter and so. No, it starts from deep things. No, they always say tragedy plus time equals comedy. So if you think about something very serious, well, think about it and see. In a few years or decades, maybe we will make fun about it. Well, I live in Belgium, I live in Brussels, I live in my own apartment like a grown-up, and I wake up and then I write, I go to this site called 750words.com. It's a site you can go and you write 750 words every day. So, because if you're a writer, the first thing you have to do, the main thing you have to preserve is to write. People forget about it. You have all the duties of the day that can come across your way. So I try to write first thing in the day, and then I have to do all my stuff. And then at the end, I go to play some shows. So that's more or less what I do. But it starts maybe a little bit later than most of people, because, I don't wake up at 6 to bring kids to school and to, I wake up around 8, 9, something like that. I start at 10, and then I try to have lunch. So that's very difficult for me, because I actually have ADHD. I don't know if I talked about it, but I have this trouble of attention. So, it's easier for me to go on stage and to perform for 1,000 people than to make breakfast. It's not. I don't know, because I know it seems a bit crazy, but I know that people who will relate to what I just said, you're not alone. So that's what's the most complicated thing for me, is really do the executive parts of the day, the travel, the moving, the taking a plane on time. That's difficult. But all what is writing and performing comes easy. So we have to find balance. And then usually I do things that don't involve thinking, because my peak of the day, everybody has a different peak of energy during the day. Most people, it's in the morning and blah, blah, blah. Me, it's more like around 5 p.m. That's when I just got the most energy. So between the lunch and 5 p.m., I don't have to do things that are too complicated because I'm gonna be, drained and it's not cool. So I'm doing like, wash things, physical things. I know, laundry. I don't know, just visiting, WhatsApping, calling friends, watching shows, the things that, passive action, okay? And then like around 4, then I know that I have to prepare for the shows, and then I do like repetition, I write new jokes, I'm trying some things out, and then usually around 7, I have to be somewhere to perform. So that's the thing. And then also people underestimate, because you perform, because people always think it's only the time that you're on stage that you're actually working. But that's not that. Even if you have to do 10 minutes in the day, a performance of 20 minutes like I did on the show. People think, oh my God, he's getting paid just to crack jokes for 20 minutes and then that's his whole day. But for those 20 minutes, to be good, for those 20 minutes, to be accurate, on point, for you to be in a good state to deliver and blah, 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 it takes the whole day. The whole day you have to focus on that performance. Even if it's 10 minutes or 2 hours, it takes your whole, mind space. So that's why it's also heavy as a profession, because you never know how things are gonna work out. You never know how the crowd will react. You never know it. You can bomb. You can forget things. You can be. That's the positive and the negative about comedy. It's always surprising. Then you go chat a little bit with your colleagues, blah blah blah. You come back home. It's like midnight, and then I hope. I make the effort to be in bed before 1, but it's not always easy because the head is always like going on a little bike. So usually around 3, you can be sure I'm sleeping, and then it's all back again. So voilà, that's why I'm actually 40, but my body is 65. I'll do yoga actually. About my working out routine, if you don't want to know, I started yoga like a few months ago. And it's really helping. It's really helping for my body, for my ADHD. I can stick with it because I don't know what happens in the brain about this balance I'm looking for, and it really helps me to focus. And also, it's like good for the body, the exercise, to feel yourself. Because when you're on stage, you have to be aware of what you're doing with your body. Okay, and yoga permits me to be more aware. Also, I try also to do some sit-ups and to do some squats, but that's when I'm really, that's when I'm in the good days. But mostly, I do 1 yoga routine per day. I know it sounds a little bit like woohoo, but it works for me. I don't know. It's that's the thing I learned with life. Now I'm 40, so I can give advice about life. But I don't know, it's just that you have to find out what works for you, even if it seems unconventional, even if it seems like everybody is going that way, why would I go that way? That's bizarre. But if you feel in your heart and soul that's what you're called for, just do it. Comedy is not great. Well, the entertaining world in general, the show business world, is not that great with, family time, because it's like you work at night, you're always around the world, and it's it's difficult to find a partner. You see, even between themselves, they're always like, yeah, we were married for 2 years and then we got divorced. It's difficult because you don't have like normal working hours, So yeah, you can forget like 80% of the planet to match up, because a lot of thing about having a relationship is just having matching schedules. That's also a baseline of the thing. So for me, I find that what works is really being honest with people I'm in relationship with, being very true to myself and to others. But I have like open relationships, and I have like very strong relationships with my friends. But on the partner-wise, I don't have kids for the moment, because I have also I had a life where I wasn't really responsible for a lot of time in my life, because I had like issues with addiction, on multiple levels. So that's all under control now, but it made me lose a lot of maybe time and insights. So now I'm more, aware, like I say. I'm more like this yogi tea drinking guy, but it wasn't always like that. And now I'm having like great relationship with people. I don't know if I want to have kids. For a long time I didn't want to put another person in my situation because I was a mess and I didn't want to like be a mess with a little mess. so, but now that I'm like more stabilized, I'm like thinking about it. But I'm thinking, I know I'm gonna take a decision like in the next year because I don't want to be a too old parent. Even I know at my age, some people here in Rwanda are like grandfather, and I don't even have one kid. I have still a grandmother here in Kimisagara, in Kigali, and she's like, "Now you're old. Where are your kids?" And I'm like, "Ah." So that's a really cultural confrontation, because in Europe they're like, "Oh, you can have kids like at 50. Look at Naomi Campbell." But here is like, oh, "Come on, at 50, you should be dead." so yeah, I don't know. So. Voilà. So that's more or less the situation. It's like being responsible to not involve people in a situation that's not comfortable for them. So I have a relationship with people who can be at ease with the way I live. Some dreams that I still may have and project that I'm still on. Well, like I said in the beginning, I always wanted to write. That was the thing that I really committed to since like a teenager. When you're gonna, if some of you will come to see my show, because I will actually be performing in Kigali, my whole show normally in 2024. There is no a real precise date for the moment, but it's all in the pipeline, okay? Now I'm on, how do you say, documentary. I always loved cinema and filmmaking, so that's also a passion of mine. And so now I authorized myself to go in that area, even if I have no experience. But, you get to, give yourself some credit and try new things and go out. And so I found great partners because there is still my grandmother who had her 96th birthday this summer. So I want to do something about transmission, something about what's getting transmitted through generations, even if you're far away, even if you're far away in time and in space, because the Rwandese diaspora is all over the world. So I have my grandmother is 96, and her grandchildren are like some in America, some in Switzerland, some in I don't know, Oslo. But the thing is, how do they still share some common ground on the cultural, physical, on any level? So, if life is like, well, if you see that the thing where you run and then you give the stick to somebody else, I think that life is like that, okay? Life is like somebody running and then giving the stick to somebody else, that's the transmission. And so I'm very curious about things, how I transmit it. So I'm doing this documentary about that, and also maybe writing books, I don't know, plays, all gonna come from the pen. It's all gonna come from the pen, but now it's going to stand up. Also now going to film documentary, maybe later to some books. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And if it's success, if I succeed, then I can do that. And if I don't, then I will be back to be a waiter, because people forget, but I'm a very good waiter. Okay. What was really powerful in my life to make changes, to be aware of the power of truth, okay, to be aware of the power of honesty and truth in any area, and in comedy especially, because in comedy you have to be like true to yourself and true to what you're saying and true, because otherwise people feel it. There is like a sixth sense of the audience, You can think it's like people are like silly because they can laugh about a fart joke, but if you're telling something and you're not true to yourself, people will not be able to put a word on it, but they will feel it, And like they say, people don't remember what you said, but they remember always how you made them feel. So it's very important. And I know that back in the days where I was doing like whatever with my life, I was not, I was like dancing with the truth. But now that's why I know that this is very powerful value in my life. It took me so much time to be aware of the fact that no matter who you are, you have value, okay? You matter. Your life matters. I mean, even growing back in Belgium, in Europe, in a white continent, as a black person, it wasn't always easy to have the feeling that your life really matters in a way. You had the feeling that you had to be like a standard, very high standard, to be accepted, to be tolerated. It's not even accepted, it's just tolerated. And if you went below that standard, then your life didn't matter. So it took me a long time to realize that even wherever you are, you have to never lose sight of the fact that you have value. You're a valuable person. It's even on the market. A human body is $3 million. That's an international data. With insurance and blah blah blah, they always calculate human life is $3 million. So even if you're not, I don't know, president of the universe, you're still worth. Even if you're sleeping outside in a slum, you're $3 million worth. So don't forget that. Man, you're rich already. I'm going to be in Kigali next year, so in 2024. Follow me on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. But I'm going to be on TikTok someday. And Inno JP. Inno, ENNOJP. Voilà, on Instagram, Facebook, and mail. And so, yeah, that's my... And if you're in Belgium, you can come to my show in Belgium. All the love!